Hi, my name is Camille, and this is my What I Learned presentation for my Nevada History course. In this presentation, I will be highlighting Nevada's relationship with the federal government through history. In the back of this slide, I have a picture of the Nevada sky. I took this last summer in Las Vegas. Throughout this presentation, my backgrounds will be various pictures of the Nevada sky I've taken because I think it's an important part of Nevada culture. Being born in Reno, I've lived out nearly 2 decades of Nevada history. However, I've learned many things throughout this course I didn't previously know about my home state. One of my main takeaways from this course was that Nevada's relationship with the federal government is complex. One example of this is that 81% of Nevada is federally owned land, which, as you can imagine, complicates Nevada's identity and the boundaries it can enforce. Throughout this course, I have found the convoluted relationship between Nevada and the U.S. government can be best exhibited through westward emigration, Nevada's role in the Civil War, and the testing of nuclear weapons on Nevada soil. In the 1840s, prior to Nevada earning statehood, the American government encouraged emigration west through its glorification of Manifest Destiny. The U.S. government funded expeditions into the Wild West and motivated a narrative that true Americans were adventurous pioneers, masters of the natural world around them. In response, overland immigrants, often ill-prepared, flooded Nevada landscapes, stealing natural resources from native populations and threatening or inciting violence against indigenous communities. In the right corner of this slide, I have a picture of a poster from Washington advertising train rides west. And under that, I have a photo of a settler inciting violence against an indigenous woman. In 1848, gold was struck in Nevada's neighboring state, and a global rush to California ensued. Many workers in California immigrated into Nevada with the later discovery of the silver Comstock lode in 1859. With this discovery, Nevada transformed into a state with endless opportunities and the promise of wealth. Through the next few years, Nevada quickly developed densely populated mining towns and new technology for mining and processing minerals. However, Nevada's newly realized supply of silver also received attention from the federal government. The leftmost photo in this slide is a picture of early Virginia City as it formed around the Comstock lode, and the picture next to that is the mining structures used in the Comstock. During the later years of the American Civil War, President Lincoln was caught in a tough spot. As a president who was the glue holding the country together, Lincoln knew he needed to be reelected for a second term, but was lacking the votes. Also, after 3 years of war, the government was in financial straits. Lincoln used Nevada as the perfect solution to all of his problems. By allowing Nevada to become a state, Lincoln earned Nevada votes and secured his second term. Nevada's silver and gold would be used to fund and win the Civil War. Nevada was also the last state needed to ratify the 13th Amendment to finally abolish slavery. At this time, Nevada's relationship with the federal government was a strong one, and Nevadans took pride in their war-winning state. The leftmost photo on this slide is a picture of Union soldiers and President Lincoln standing next to them, and the picture next to that is Lincoln and the 36th star as the 36th state, Nevada. That was taken from the Nevada Museum of Art's website. Nevada took a similar aiding position almost 100 years later in nuclear testing after World War II. The U.S. Army launched its first atomic test in Nevada in 1951, utilizing barren land in Nevada for the test site. Nevada would go on to host the majority of atomic testing in the United States until the Limited Nuclear Test Ban Treaty took effect in 1963. The U.S. Atomic Energy Commission conducted nearly 90% of the atomic tests in the United States on Nevada soil. The war brought with it an unacquainted fear of nuclear attack, which was reason enough for local and bipartisan political support of nuclear testing in Nevada. Nevadans trusted the federal government with their safety and health and proudly relished their newfound role in national security. To the left, I have a photo of the Royal Nevada in Las Vegas welcoming atomic soldiers who were experimenters of the atomic bombs, which was taking place near Las Vegas. And to the right of that, I have a photo of an atomic test site in which a bomb is actively going off, and there are many people crowded around it to see. Through over a decade of atomic testing, the U.S. military continuously failed to consider important consequences of nuclear testing that would affect Southern Nevadans. Many Nevadans' health and livelihood suffered from radiation poisoning, radiation spread via wind patterns, and produce from infected farms. Once the negative health effects of atomic testing were eventually brought to light, national pressure led to the adoption of the Limited Nuclear Test Ban Treaty in 1963, which stopped testing. This treaty was also signed by the Soviet Union, the British government, and other global powers. Underground atomic testing continued in the United States until 1992, one of the nuclear test sites used being the Project Shoal site south of Fallon. This history-altering mistake by the U.S. government impacted, then as much as now, Nevada's relationship with the federal government. To the left, I have a photo of how radiation poisoning would get into the food supply and contaminate individuals, and to the right of that, I have a map showing where the Project Shoal site is in red. In conclusion, Nevada's relationship with the federal government has taken many unexpected turns throughout history. Indigenous communities in Nevada suffered greatly because of U.S. government's forced colonization of the West. Nevada became a state because the government needed its resources to win the Civil War. After World War II, Nevada trusted the government to prioritize its citizen safety with nuclear testing and was cheated. These examples represent only a handful of interactions between Nevada and the U.S. government. However, they demonstrate how complex this relationship can be. Thank you.